Respect, it's something you can buy. It's not something you can beg for. It's not handed out freely to those who simply speak louder, look tougher, have more followers. Respect is something deeper. It's something that must be earned, not through force, but through presence. Not by pretending, but by becoming. And the truth is, there are people out there right now who walk into a room without saying a word, and they're respected, not because of what they wear, not because of their titles, but because of the way they carry themselves. Because they understand something most people don't respect is psychological. And the ones who understand how to influence the mind are the ones who lead it. Most people chase attention. They crave validation. They want to be liked, followed, accepted. But being liked is not the same as being respected, because the world might like you for what you give. It will only respect you for what you stand for. And that's the difference. That's where the real shift begins. When you stop living for approval and start living with authority. When you stop bending yourself to fit the crowd and start anchoring yourself in truth. That's when people notice. That's when they feel something different in your energy. And here's what psychology shows you: people don't respect those who try to please everyone. They respect those who know who they are, who speak with conviction, who walk with calm confidence. They don't just talk about values, but live by them, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. That's where respect begins, not in the words you say, but in the alignment between what you say and who you are. There are psychological patterns that run deep inside every human mind. And once you understand them, once you master them, you unlock a kind of presence that makes people lean. And when you speak, you gain influence not by force, but by trust, not by fear, but by consistency. And that's the first true thing. People respect those who are congruent. When your words, your energy, your actions all say the same thing, people feel safe around you. They might not even know why, but they sense it. You become someone who doesn't just say what's right. You are what's right. And that kind of integrity, it's rare, it's powerful, and it commands respect without saying a word. And once you carry yourself with that congruence, everything begins to shift. Your voice doesn't need to be louder. It becomes clearer. Your presence doesn't need to be perfect. It becomes grounded. People don't follow you because you force them. They follow you because you've become a lighthouse in a world full of noise, a calm center in a storm of overcompensation. But that doesn't happen overnight. That doesn't come from trying to be someone you're not. It comes from doing the deep work most people avoid. The work of becoming someone who deserves respect, not demands it. Someone who earns it, not chases it. So ask yourself, when you walk into a room, do you bring clarity or chaos? Do you make people feel safe or small? Do you talk just to be heard, or do your words carry weight because they come from alignment? These are the questions that define your character, and character is where true respect is born. Psychology teaches us something powerful. Human beings subconsciously mirror what they admire. When someone is calm under pressure, others begin to breathe slower. When someone speaks with certainty, others begin to believe more. When someone carries themselves with inner stillness, people trust them more, not because of what they say, but because of what they are. So you have to build yourself to be one of those people, not to impress, but not to control, to lead, because real respect doesn't come from trying to look powerful. It comes from being powerful. And real power is never noisy. Real power doesn't need to prove anything. It just is. It shows up in silence and posture and presence and self-control. And one of the greatest psychological triggers of respect, boundaries. Most people think saying yes all the time earns love, but what it really earns is burnout. And quietly over time, it earns disrespect, because people respect what is clear. People respect what is solid. When you have boundaries, when you say no, when you need to, people begin to realize something. Your time matters. Your peace matters. Your energy is not free for anyone to take. And that makes people take you seriously. When you respect yourself, others follow your lead. But you can't fake it. You can't pretend to have self-respect if your habits are destroying you. You can't convince others to see your worth if you're constantly shrinking for them. You have to decide, do you want to be liked in the short term or respected in the long term? Because often those two don't walk together. There will be seasons where your discipline makes you look too serious. There will be times your standards make you intense. But here's what you have to remember. The very people who question your boundaries now will admire your strength later. The same people who think you're too much right now will look back and wish they had your backbone. Respect is delayed. It's not always immediate, but it is always worth it. Because one day, people will remember how you made them feel, not because you told them what they wanted to hear, because you showed them what they needed to see. You became an example of integrity, of alignment, of conviction, and that leaves a mark no words ever could. So build that version of you, the one who doesn't flinch under pressure, the one who speaks from truth, not ego, The one who doesn't lower their standards for cheap validation, but raises the standards for what real strength looks like. Because here's the most important thing psychology teaches about respecting. It can only be given to those who give it to themselves first. Because here's the most important thing psychology teaches about respecting. It can only be given to those who give it to themselves first. That means the way you talk to yourself in silence determines the way the world talks to you in public. If you constantly belittle yourself in your mind, if you tolerate your own inconsistency, if you allow fear to be your dominant voice, you're telling your brain and everyone around you that you're not someone to be taken seriously. But the moment you flip that switch, the moment you raise your internal standards and stop making excuses for your own behavior, the respect you show to yourself begins to radiate outward. And people feel it. They might not know what changed. They might not be able to explain it, but they'll feel a shift in your presence. They'll know you've built something solid inside, and that demands respect without ever needing to ask for it. You see, human behavior is deeply influenced by subtle signals. Psychology shows us that people unconsciously assess others based on patterns, confidence, eye contact, posture, tone, consistency. And when those things align, when you carry yourself like someone with purpose, not panic, people begin to sense that you are different. You're not living for approval. You're not playing games. You're not over-explaining or trying to convince people of your worth. You're moving through life with quiet certainty, and that quiet confidence is one of the most powerful forces on earth. But here's the catch. It's built in the dark. That kind of presence, that unshakable energy is not something you learn in a weekend. It's something you earn through thousands of small choices, through getting up when it would be easier to quit, through holding your values even when it costs you something, through showing up when no one claps, when no one sees, when no one understands. That's where self-respect is born, in silence, not spotlight. And when you do that long enough, the world responds. People begin to treat you differently, not because you force them to, but because you force yourself to grow. And that growth speaks louder than any words ever could. There's another principle psychology reveals, so people respect what they feel they can learn from. Think about it. Who do you admire most? The ones who talk a big game, or the ones who live what they say? The ones who flaunt temporary power, or the ones who carry timeless wisdom? The truth is, people are starving for examples, not advice. They want to see someone who's walked through fire and came out sharper, someone who suffered, evolved, and didn't lose their heart in the process. So if you want respect, become someone others can look to. Not for perfection, but for perspective. Show them what resilience looks like. Show them how to carry strength with compassion. Show them what it means to stand tall when the world pushes you to kneel. Not through speeches, but through your life, through your discipline, through your stillness under pressure. Because one of the deepest psychological triggers for respect is emotional control. In a world where people overact to everything, you stand out by staying grounded. When others get loud, you stay calm. When others panic, and you stay focused. And it's not because you don't feel, it's because you've trained yourself to respond, not react. That level of control doesn't make you robotic. It makes you magnetic. People respect those who can carry weight without collapsing, who can listen without interrupting, who can face conflict without running, who can be angry without becoming destructive. Because emotional maturity is rare, and the more rare something is, the more respect it commands. So train that. Don't just train your mind. Train your emotions. Learn how to sit in discomfort without needing to escape. Learn how to breathe through pressure without needing to lash out. Learn how to hold your ground when you're misunderstood. Not for ego, but for integrity. Because that's what true respect is built on. Not how loud you are, but how centered you stay. And that presence, that emotional clarity, gives you another superpower, the ability to lift others. Because once people trust your energy, they will trust your leadership. Once they see you can handle yourself, they will invite you to handle more. That's how opportunity comes. That's how influence grows. It's not about domination. It's about stability. And the final psychological truth most never understand is this: respect is not a destination. It's a daily decision. It's not something you achieve and then hold forever. It's something you must earn again every single day through the way you speak, the way you show up, the way you hold space for others and still protect your own boundaries. It's in the way you carry your values into uncomfortable conversations. It's in the way you show restraint when it would be easy to explode. It's in the way you lead yourself behind closed doors. It's because that's where real character is measured. So if you want more respect in life, stop chasing it externally. Start building it internally. Wake up and ask yourself, what does my energy say before my words do? What does my discipline say when no one's watching? What do my standards say about how much I value myself? Because people listen to more than your words. They listen to your consistency. They listen to your posture. They listen to how you carry your silence. And when those things are strong, you become unforgettable, not because you shouted the loudest, but because you stood the tallest in your values, in your spirit, in your vision,